Welcome. What a year it's been. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, 2024 is officially over as of January 26th. Just kidding. We have one more thing to do after this relating to 2024, but then it's over. Not until I say so, god damn it. We're here to talk about the games of 2024. The things that made us laugh, made us cry, made us so angry that we uninstalled. I can only think of one for me. Less angry, more dejected. Anyway, if you've tuned in before, you kind of know how this works. But for those who haven't, we do a superlative system usually, where we pick categories and then we each have a pick for that category of what we would award that category to, game wise. And this year we're also gonna do a ranked list, but that'll be in a separate thing. So this is just the superlatives portion, and the categories are mostly the same as what they've been. Although, we removed one, which is like our basically top 5 games each. Since we're going to do the ranked list, I took that out, and I think that makes sense, right?
Yeah. Because we're going to be collabing next week, right?
Yeah. So, I think we'll get started here. So,
woo!
Yes, old game of 2024. The usual suspects are here. I'd say normally we just kind of roll with it, and whoever wants to go goes. But I'm gonna call on Crossley because I'm interested in what this is for him. Because I can't think of anything. I can think of a few that I could assign to Merced that would make sense, but I can't think of something for Crossley off the top of my head. So Crossley, what is your old game of 2024? This is a game, just to clarify for everybody, a game that from a previous year that you played and enjoyed in 2024. So what do you got?
Well, as you guys may or may not remember, the last time we did this, my old game was Monster Hunter World. It was fresh on my mind. It was my most played game of 2023, far and away. So I was like, well, shit. Recency biased, and it's got the most hours. Fuck it, right?
Yeah.
Great game. Love it. Top tier. Turns out, this year, my most played game is once again Monster Hunter World.
Wow.
Who would have thought?
What a shock.
So, I would like to just go ahead and say my old game of 2024 is Dave the Diver. Fucking
That's a really good choice.
Top tier fucking video game.
Wait, did you ever play Dave the Diver, Chandler?
I didn't actually.
Dude,
it's so good.
That's a fun game. That's a very fun game.
Wow.
Yeah. I really want to play more of it. I just haven't gotten around to it. But yeah, that game really fucking took me by surprise and got in me deep. And I don't know.
The gameplay loop is just crack.
Yeah. So me and Merced, are familiar. Well, I don't know what all you know about it, Chandler, but it's definitely not what you think at face value. If you've just like seen some screenshots and some clips, like there is so much love, heart, and soul in that game that is like just so good. It's amazing.
I was interested in it. I know enough to know that it's not just like a fishing, and there's a lot of kind of different mini games, running the restaurant. There's some new, from what I recall, people talking about it. There's mechanics that continue to unlock over the course of a surprisingly lengthy runtime, which I think is neat. It's cool. Okay, all right. And so you did you finish it? You played that?
I have not finished it, but I would like to. I wouldn't call myself a game finisher. It's not a metric I like to care about.
I do kind of know this about you, yeah, but there's some exceptions, of course, to that.
There is, yes,
but
yes.
yeah.
So it's always fair to ask, but
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's. I feel like I'm in the scene in American Psycho where he's like, now let's see Christopher Merced's pick.
I felt like mine was going to be pretty obvious.
Yeah, I think so as well. But
so I played Final Fantasy 16 this year, and that shit gripped the fuck out of me.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So I 100% I would say Final Fantasy 16.
So fucking
I think my only complaints was just going to be a funny complaint, because it's kind of like why, like, I don't know, why would you go see a horror movie and then complain that you got scared? But my main complaint is just that, like, towards the latter half of the game, the story just kind of goes off the fucking rails, and then of course, like, you end up having to, like, fight God and, like, all of this shit.
Right.
It's just it's like, bro, you had such a good thing going.
You bought
such a good thing going.
You bought a Final Fantasy game, and
but
then
that being said,
you didn't realize until you got to disc 2.
Right.
You're like, what the fuck is going on here?
What the fuck is happening?
They put Final
that
Fantasy.
being said, the whole like epilogue though, worth it. Like how they like tie the bow and stuff. Totally.
It all to me, even the ending, the ending sequence and everything works incredibly well. Just because at that point in the game, they've done such an incredible job with their storytelling and their character development across like a giant cast of characters that, I mean, I gave a fuck the entire way through, regardless of, like, really honestly the whole the grandiose types of games like that are really just not my style. I don't really dig them all that much anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, like, they did such a fucking phenomenal job with their world building and character development that I was like, I'm all in, bro. Like, so
this is pretty awkward because I have 4 games written down here, but the one that I chose, the one that I was compelled to put a star next to, is also Final Fantasy 16. It's really funny because I played through 2 Final Fantasy games this year. Final Fantasy 7 Remake, which I really liked, and I also put on this short list of games I was considering for this. But there is something about Final Fantasy 16 that similarly, I think the combat wears out its welcome sooner than in Remake, but the overall experience of completing Final Fantasy 16 I found to be such an unbelievably memorable and long-lasting. Like, it stuck around in my brain for a really long time after I was done. Still does. Jennifer and I still hum the battle music. The dun 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 dun. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. It plays for about 80 hours of your fucking life, and it has wormed its way into my my subconscious in a way that I cannot deny. So
one thing too, because you brought up the amount of hours that you put in, wasn't it the case that you played the game prior to them adding in the fast warp, the fast traveling mechanic after quest completion?
Yes.
Whereas, like, I played the game after that, and I put in, I think, about 60 hours. Yeah. So I think that in and of itself was probably such a gigantic quality of life leap for that game, just because of the amount of people that I remember complaining about the questing middle part of the game, or like, I guess, like tail end middle part ish, whatever the fuck. But the amount of people that I heard complaining about it, I finished all those quests, and then I was like, oh fuck, I did them all. Like, I did that portion of the game that everyone is complaining about, and that, like, just that quality of life improvement was probably an insane, like, choice for them to make.
Yeah, I had played through about half of the game prior to that happening, and what Merced's referring to, like, there was always like a fast travel, but it was to those little warp points in each zone. the thing that they did, which I think is extremely smart, is the minute you can, like, as soon as you complete a quest objective, a little menu will just pop up that just says, you want to return to the guy who asked you to do this dumbass shit? And you can just hit yes, and it'll immediately teleport you. You're standing right in front of them. They might even engage in conversation automatically for you. I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of a game changer, especially in... It's helpful in the base because you do run through the base a lot, but it's mostly helpful in zones where there isn't a teleporter right next to the guy that you need to talk to. So you'll be teleporting to the next 3 zones over and then riding your chocobo through those corridors, you know, in the forest to get to, I don't know, fucking the guy at the vineyard or whatever. I don't know. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And I do think it helps cut down on some of the tedium in that game. But in general, I just think even the ancillary dialogue or character moments or everything does on some level make that bullshit worth it. It's just from a gameplay perspective, it does get a little dry. But I mean, this is the best written Final Fantasy game since 12, probably.
I mean, in my mind, from my experience, it is the best written Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, I think it's just the best one.
Yeah. I remember walking away from that game because I played Remake Integrate earlier this year as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember walking away from that game and then thinking, like, I actually cannot believe that this is my favorite Final Fantasy game after playing Remake Integrate just like, 4 or 5 months prior.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about favorite Final Fantasy game. It's a fucking really good game. I mean, this makes me very optimistic. Well, I say that. I was going to say this makes me very optimistic about the future of the franchise. Supposedly, this game did not sell well or well enough, in their opinion.
I could believe that. Yeah.
But, yeah, anyway. Okay. So, Final Fantasy 16 for me and Merced. Crossley. To recap, yours was Dave the Diver.
Yes.
Perfect. Old game of 2024.
Did y'all enjoy my fake out?
I did. Only because I was like, I feel like I was disappointed in myself more than anything because I was like, I could have seen this coming. Do you know what I mean? Like I should have known better. But then when you did it, so yeah, you really subverted my expectations. Like you know, like the best of them.
You really thought I would do Monster Hunter World again?
Ryan
even
Johnson
though it was literally my most played game again.
Yeah.
And has been since release.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it every year and it would still be true. You could do it next year, even after the new one comes out, and it might still be true. Okay, let's move on.
Dude, we got like a month.
What's that?
We got like a month.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
I could probably keep waiting, honestly.
I'll be right there.
Yeah, I'll see you at Game of the Year 2025.
Yeah. Disappointment of the year. Let's get our negativity out of the way early on. And not really, because if you're talking to me, there's always going to be something in there. But disappointment of the year. So this was a tough category for me, as I was saying.
Yeah.
I think, I had a difficult time because everything I played, I enjoyed. Everything I stuck with, I enjoyed on some level. There's games I put down, but most of the games that I put down weren't things that I was really expecting to love. It was just stuff that I was like, I'm not quite in the right headspace, or this isn't for me.
Yes.
It wasn't something that I was like, I'm gonna love this. Does anybody want to go first?
I mean, mine was incredibly easy. Senua's Saga HellBlade 2.
Okay. I was kind of expecting that. You mentioned, I remember some months ago when you played this, that you were kind of just like, whatever about it.
Yeah, it is the people who complain about like on rails cinematic games, like this is your this will be like the the ire of your hatred. Like, this is the fucking thing. All you do is basically walk forward, and then you do a small like combat sequence, and then you get to the next cinematic. And if anyone ever played Senua's Saga HellBlade 1, HellBlade 1, then you would know that the combat's just not really all that deep anyway. So really in HellBlade 1, the main thing that it survived off of was the slightly satisfying combat, and then the puzzles, and then the incredible like interpretation of what it's like to truly be someone who is schizophrenic. And in HellBlade 2, they just kind of like get rid of almost all aspects. The combat is actually more simple, which is kind of crazy. The puzzles are brain dead in comparison to the first game. And basically all you do is you're on rails going through Senua's story the whole way through. And by this time in her story as well, she's a lot more capable as an individual. If you played HellBlade 1, you know this by the end. And so the aspect of like giving you the interpretation of someone who is mentally ill and being able to or at least they attempt to make you live through that is not really fully realized in this one, because it doesn't make sense thematically, and it doesn't make sense for the story anymore. So yeah, just overall, just
game do be looking flat. Good though. I mean,
it's an absolutely gorgeous game.
It cranked them graphics up to 11.
I don't think that I can. I don't think I've played a game that looks better than this, to be honest.
Yeah, if I had played it, it would have been probably a front runner for best looking or visual excellence, as we say. But I mean, it does seem like they poured, especially if you think about what they were marketing, and like if you go back to like, if you think back to that initial reveal, everything that we were wowed by was a cinematic in the game. You know what I mean? It was like not gameplay. It was like the giant in the cave bucking those guys 2, around.
Talking about, right?
Yeah, on the beach. Yeah, like all that stuff, like the fire. Like if you think about like all the things they were showing about that game, it does feel like that's what they were leaning into, is just like, we're making this a fucking full CG movie quality.
It's basically
experience.
A movie. Yeah, it is basically a movie. It is as close to a movie video game as you could possibly get. Like people who like talk about like God of War or things like that, or Last of Us, or you have no idea until you play this game. If you want like a hate boner, go play this game, because
which, to be fair, crazy. I mean, and I know you're not one of these people, but there are people out there who automatically hate games if they're like that. That's not what you're saying. You if the story and everything else about it, if the adventure was worth it, you'd be satisfied. Right?
Yeah, 100%. I loved the first one to death, and the first one is, you know, pretty close to this, just not as egregious, right? Like, it's the package is just a lot better in the first one than in this one. It's like you said, they cranked it up to 11, right? Like, but it's almost like that's all they cared about, really, truly.
Yeah.
So I felt, honestly, the number one thing is I felt most insulted by the puzzles. And I wish I could explain to you just how stupid these fucking puzzles are. They are so insanely, like, they're basically like take square and then put it into the square hole.
I was just about to say it's like that.
It's really
and then
bad.
It's like, good job at the end.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
And the thing about the first game that they did so fucking well too is that while you're doing the puzzles and you're trying to figure out what's going on and everything, you're also dealing with this fucking schizophrenic ramblings that are going on in your head.
Yeah.
And so it adds to the intensity of just like trying to figure out what the fuck is happening, like trying to figure out the puzzle and like just traversing the environment and things like that. But in this game, it's like, why would you make the puzzle so simple and then you take out basically all the tension? Now it feels like I'm literally just going from point A to point B, which is basically cutscene 1 to cutscene 2. That's essentially what you're making me do at this point.
Yeah.
But that to be fair, the parts of the game where you do have control over Senua and they do have these cinematic moments, they're fucking phenomenal. So I'll give it that. But at the end of the day, it's like easily probably my biggest disappointment.
Yeah, this is a game that I would have played if I felt like I needed more from the story of HellBlade. What was it?
True.
Was the first one called HellBlade: Senua's Sacrifice? Was that was right?
I think that's what it was called. Yeah, I think
so.
You're right.
I mean, if I felt like there was more that I needed from that story, or if the feedback that I was getting from people about HellBlade 2 was that, oh my god, man, you just have to see what happens to to this character, then I would be like, okay, cool, right? Like I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really feel like anybody has come away from that game with that impression. I think it's just basically what you're saying is how a lot of people feel, and then the even people who normally like that type of game are saying that. But then the other thing is obviously the standard stuff. It looks really good. Digital Foundry awarded it one of their top 3 best looking games, and I would say pretty much everybody agrees that the actress Melinda Juergens is like incredible in this game. But I mean, I think they have to. Ninja Theory has got to. Ninja Theory? Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's Theory. Yeah, it's Ninja Theory.
Especially now that Ninja Gaiden's back and they're Team Ninja, that's just going to happen to my brain more than more. Ninja Theory has got to let Melinda Juergens out of whatever cage they have her trapped in. I feel like if she escaped into the wilds of like film and TV, they would never see her again. You know what I mean? Like she should be doing more.
Kojima could pick her up too.
Oh yeah, dude, Kojima. Oh my god.
I feel like
Kojima scanned her.
He has to have his he has to have his sights on her. He has to. Like
I bet there's like a bodyguard coterie of people from Team Ninja just standing around, or Ninja Theory. God damn, see, it's already begun. There's a bodyguard coterie of Ninja Theory people just boxing her in so Kojima can't get close enough to be like, I would like to scan you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just like physically in the way. They're not actually really doing anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say if you care about Senua and you care about her story, because you did bring up like, oh, I don't really feel like I need to know all that much more afterwards because it's just wrapped up so nicely in the first game. Actually, perfectly, I would say. Mm-hmm. But if you do care about her story, there's a lot of amazing character development that ends up occurring that is incredibly true to real life for people who are struggling with mental disorders, and they do that incredibly well. So I'll give them their praise on that as well. But I mean, that's also 100% to be expected with the way they handled the first game and the way that they conveyed mental disorders to the player. It seems like they really, really care, and they're very delicate about their interpretation and their conveyance of the subject matter. And they do it again here incredibly fucking well. It's just another aspect of dealing with mental disorders. And it's not exactly as hard hitting as the first one is all. But yeah,
maybe I'll check it out at some point. Crossley, what is your biggest disappointment of 2024?
Yeah, this is very personal to me. And to be clear, I like it a lot. I want to say that up front. My disappointment is a disappointment, but I also like the product. But it's definitely Dragon Age.
When I said that there's an obvious one, this is what I was getting at.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because I'm honestly like, it could have, like, if there was another category for what was like my biggest surprise of the year, it also could have been Dragon Age, because I could have expected so much worse at the same time. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, this is not like a burning dumpster fire, especially considering like finding out what was happening behind the scenes, where it was almost this and they shifted it to this, and it's like, oh, okay, damn. So it's like, I don't know. I see that there's still some sort of vision there at BioWare, and they still want to make these kinds of games, and it gives me like hope, and that's good. But at the same time, I feel like, and this is, I don't know if you agree with this, Chandler, I feel like Veilguard has a really strong start and then kind of just fucking like, I don't know, does nothing for a moment. And by the way you've said, it kind of seems like it does have a stronger finish, which is nice, but I don't know. I wish they could have like kept the momentum they had right at the beginning, when it's like everything with Solus happens, then you're getting the people, and you're still like kind of touching base with Solus regularly, and then it kind of just dirtles a little bit. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I fucked around and I was just fucking around too much, but it's like they sort of lost whatever momentum they had at the beginning, and I don't know. It could have. It's almost there for me, but it's not. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, how far? I should say this is mine as well. I only had 3 games written down.
Okay.
that would even apply, but I feel like anything else would have just felt wrong. This is mine as well. How far did you end up getting into it? Where'd you leave off?
My hour count, I'm not sure. Last thing that happened, I don't really remember now. I was just getting the team together, I think. I was just in the middle of doing that.
Okay.
Still. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the year of 100-hour games that I for some reason finished, because I did FF7 Remake, FF16, this Stalker, there's others that I'm trying, Metaphor. So even Shadow of the Erd Tree, one could argue, is pretty long, although it's definitely not 100 hours. So I would say, like, of those, this is the one that I was the most frustrated by consistently. And it starts off with writing. I think the character writing, I agree with you that the events that occur at the beginning are interesting, but the writing is bad from the first second. Like, I think that by the time,
like dialogue,
exactly, just minute to minute dialogue.
It's like super cheese, and
it's which is crazy because Dragon Age was founded as similarly to Mass Effect, but kind of better than Mass Effect even. Really.
I think so. Speaking for Dragon Age Origins specifically, that is like
hard fantasy, like traditional roots in the genre. Very, can be dry, but interesting and well, good prose.
Yes.
When needed, right? I mean, it was extremely disappointing to me from that perspective. Specifically.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
The actual plot of what occurs, I think, is really smart and does a lot to advance the world in interesting ways. But I think the total package just wasn't quite what I wanted. You were saying like, oh, I'm actually more impressed that it's not a total dumpster fire, which is fair considering, development cycle and the state of BioWare under EA and all this stuff. I do think, on the other hand, with that statement though, Inquisition was really good.
Exactly.
So to me, I mean, I would kind of expect something closer in that to quality, and I just don't think we got that here.
Yes,
I mean, some people like this game more than Inquisition, which is crazy to me. I think gameplay wise,
I understand.
I don't.
That I do, because the beginning of Inquisition is so bad that I bet a lot of people. I'm talking about like after the intro, like the beginning area is so bad. It's like I totally understand why no one would ever get past that, and that's where my anecdotal evidence. That's where most people seem to have put the game down. So it's like I totally get it. Whereas this game starts strong, and if you can get that ball rolling and sort of get your team going, and then get to the next big thing, it's just like okay, sure, but.
Stick with me here for a second. I want to go on a thought experiment about this. Is it just me, or does this game seem designed for the Genshin Impact and Zenless Zone Zero sickos? And let me back up for a second. The reason I say that is because it feels like the gameplay, you start out and you're like, wow, this feels pretty good. And it does. But you slowly begin to realize that the depth is very lacking. Like
there is is very shallow. It's
all flashy all the time, and there's not really.
It's just rock paper scissors. It's the whole
pretty
much. The whole combat system is basically, and I could be getting it wrong because it's been a couple weeks since I played it, but it's like one enemy will get this kind of shield, and you have to use this type of attack on it. Another enemy will get this other kind of shield. And then this other enemy might glow a color or something. It's rock, paper, scissors.
And
it's like,
way,
use
you don't
this
even
ability
have
on
to
him and it wins. That's true too. You could just
brute force it if you want, which is what I did. Because I was like a rogue who had like
it's all about how much time you want to spend. So you'll just go through the fight a million times faster and get burnt out slower if you do it the way they want you to. But Chandler is right. You can absolutely just spam square and fucking do just fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally dodge rolling the simulator, and then I built my character in a way that he was like super fast, dodging in and out. It was fun for a while. Like I did have about 30 hours of enjoyment, whereas I was unlocking new abilities.
What class did you pick?
I did the rogue, and the specialization was like duelist or something.
So I watched a video before I played the game just to kind of get a good idea of what the different classes did. And the video was basically like, just a heads up, the mage class has way more versatility than the other two classes, and all of its different subclasses basically change how the role plays entirely. And I was like, oh, okay. So, and since you can respec anytime you want, the mage actually does offer a really interesting like variety throughout the game. As you're unlocking more of the move pool, you suddenly can mix different combinations of things together and play completely differently. So just want to say shout out to that. They clearly put more effort into that, which is insane that it's the only one that got that treatment. And then I would also say shout out to being a mage just for lore reasons. There seems to be a lot more benefit from being a mage as a character, and I don't know, that has always kind of felt like the case almost in Dragon Age, and I wish they would just fucking bite the bullet. And
it's like being a biotic in Mass Effect. It's always been the canonical correct choice in terms of story interest.
That's interesting. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I agree with you. I went with it because I played a mage in Inquisition the last time, and I was like, I want to do something a little different. I ended up being happy with my class. I think it was really fun, especially at the end of the game.
Seemed cool. Yeah,
I was bursting people down, even bosses, really quickly. Once I could get a consistent amount of attack, because there's a lot of like MMO style bosses that have like big attack patterns.
Here's my big circle.
Exactly. Here's my checkerboard of squares. You got to stand in the squares that aren't bad. Stuff like that. But which is fine. There's a lot of parrying in that game. I did so much fucking parrying in that game. Holy shit. But
I like how we're just talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, because this is the time, right? Because we're probably not going to bring it up. I mean, if I had to put this in a top 10, it would be number 10. You know what I mean? Like it would just be there because there are some good things about it, but it would be very tough to give it anything more than that. I think story-wise, it wraps up really well. There's some reveals that I think would surprise you. Like even if I was saying them to you now, where you haven't even played that much in the game, you'd be like, "What the fuck?" Like there's some stuff that's actually pretty cool. I think the villains are weak, with the exception of Solus, which is more villain ? And then I think that all of the backstories, I could see them being really interesting and relevant as the story goes on to the different factions. It's like the overall writing is solid, but it's just the minute to minute character stuff is just not that good. And the quality between characters is vast. So like the deaf guy with the skeleton companion, Manfred, choice character. Like you could put him in a best character lineup in here and he would come out looking pretty good. I like the Grey Warden, Davrin. I really and then it starts to go down pretty quick. I think the assassin guy is okay, and then like Balara is fine. I think the Scout Harding is pretty bad.
Oh yeah, I mean,
So
objectively,
I mean, I thought the detective girl Nev, she's pretty cool. She gets some good character stuff. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. So, okay.
Yeah,
I think we can move on. I think we've gotten our point in. Yeah. Disappointment of the year. So Merced's HellBlade 2, was it Senua Saga HellBlade 2? Is that what it is? That
Senua Saga HellBlade 2.
And for Crossley and I, Dragon Age of the Veilguard, disappointments of the year.
You'll notice Merced, he just keeps taking our answers. This guy has no original thoughts.
Oh yeah, true.
It is pretty funny that happened twice in a row. I'm a little bit surprised.
Well, it's about to happen again, I can tell you that much.
Yeah. You think so?
I think so.
Okay.
Maybe you should go first.
Maybe I'll go first. Best world. It's actually kind of hard for me to go first because I have 6 games written here. I'm actually I'm picking Stalker 2 for this.
Nice. You went my route, the very personal.
This is very personal. It's also it's kind of more personal in a lot of ways than even what you're referring to, because because I have a lot of history with the series from childhood, and I think if I was being,
and I don't
no, but what I'm saying is like this is kind of an unfair pick, I guess, because the world of Stalker 2 is pieces of the world of the old Stalker games that I know and love, just arranged a bit differently. Not always better. I want to be clear. But in general, I think the experience of meandering around the zone and finding places that you have memory hold from like 20 years ago.
Yes.
Oh my, it's like heroin every time. I mean, it
is exactly why mine is my pick as well. You're like basically reading my script.
Yeah.
Which is funny. You just changed the game name.
It's like an injection into my veins every time. And in a lot of ways, Stalker 2 really is just the old Stalkers, but better, finger quotes. But it's also the old Stalkers, but worse in a few ways. But it really is just they got to do more of what they were always trying to do. So it's kind of funny that they called it Stalker 2, because you know they could have just done what they did for the last 3 games, just go Stalker : another thing. Instead, they did Stalker
Rebirth :
another thing, which I think is even weirder. But they are fucking dedicated to wrapping this shit up. Every protagonist from the last 3 Stalker games shows up in this game at some point. Divisively, I might add, because there is some characterizations of those characters that people are not thrilled about, but always makes sense. Like if this game was a bit better cooked, like it's like when you bake something in the oven and it's got a beautiful crust on the outside, and then you cut into it and you realize the inside still isn't done. That's kind of Stalker 2. Like I finished it last night. There's so much about the way it wraps up, the way it wants to wrap up with specific characters, that is really well written. In my opinion, this carries the tradition of very hard science fiction, which is like, it's very technical. It's kind of boring sometimes. They're like talking about like running tests and diagnostics, inserting, fucking big cards full of data into a gigantic old computer, and like, flipping 9 switches and reading it, like what's going on. There's a lot of that, but it's in my mind, it's really well realized, except it's just not all the way there. I got to a point about a third through the game where it became clear that they were running out of time and or money, because they suddenly things start picking up. The early parts of that game, you're like, I'm walking through the woods, I'm having a great time. What's up with that weird ball over there that seems to expand and contract all of the environment around it? I'm going to go check it out, and there's like a lot of that. There's a lot of, I'm going to go look in this bunker. I'm going to go do this. By the end of that game, they have really stopped doing a lot of that stuff. They've stopped creating unique environments, and they're just starting to kind of copy paste some things a little bit more. So, the feeling of meandering through that world makes it the choice for me, which is I'm always wondering what's coming next. I'm always amazed. I was constantly looking around and being like, this environment is fucking breathtaking. These anomalies are so interesting. The story that's happening is very interesting. The characters that inhabit the world, the design, the layout, everything of it is really well considered in a way that I do like. It's not perfect, but to me, this is the way that I wanted to award Stalker 2, I guess, or reward Stalker 2 for everything that it's trying to do, because I don't think it's the best looking game of the year. I don't think the characters are the best characters. But everything together does really work in a world building sense, I guess. So, yep, that's my Stalker 2 ramble. I in a top 10 list, which we will do, I'm gonna go hard to the mat for Stalker 2, but we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Just for all these categories and stuff, I realized I was like, oh wow, like the most fun games that I had this year don't even really hit like a lot of these categories, which is kind of crazy.
Which means
so
that I should probably come up with better categories, I guess.
I mean, or maybe that's just the perfect way to do it because all the other games are gonna fucking come up next week, right?
That's true.
Like for
That's
sure.
true. Mm-hmm.
So this is like a really, really great way to like just kind of put the standouts up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought one thing that you brought up too, just like for Stalker 2 in general, I think that they did an amazing job keeping the consistency of the world just based off of the gameplay alone as well. Because whenever you're playing it, the first few hours that you're playing it, you're just like, oh, holy fuck. It's like you're like warped back in time.
Yeah.
Where in a good way, where you're just like, this is Stalker. Like this is Stalker, uniquely Stalker. This plays like Stalker and it feels like it, like to the core. So and that does an amazing job on its own to really put you back into the world.
Yeah, to that point, I was thinking about the Metro series, and when this game was on its way out, I was like it hadn't come out yet, and people were starting to get some buzz around it. It did seem like a lot of people were looking forward to this, so I'm curious what the numbers were like for them. They said it sold over 1 million copies within like the first few weeks, but
that's insane.
But the thing that I was interested in was, on to what degree has Metro eaten this game's lunch, right? Because Metro 2033 was a spinoff of Stalker developers, and then Metro the series eventually became open world and like a Stalker game with that Metro Exodus game, which was really good and I really liked it. And then you play Stalker 2 and you're like, oh my god, nothing feels like this. Even Metro doesn't really feel like this. You know what I mean? Like there are just so many distinct differences in the design of the world, in the way the game actually plays, and in the feeling of traversing the environment that is so uniquely Stalker. And that's not a dig against Metro. It's actually better for both of them because they can exist side by side and not one be just kind of a weird copy of the other one, right? So
yeah,
I think it's...
I don't think that there's anything like Stalker.
No. I'm going to continue. If they get to keep going, I'm going to be the happiest person in the entire world. So...
how long was this game in development for?
Well, there's going to be.
I know that there's like outside circumstances that caused it to take a while, but
sure. But outside of that, even there's some interesting circumstances around GSC Game Worlds, the developer who at one point had basically ceased operation or ceased development. So initially, this was supposed to be coming out around like the last Stalker game was around 2009. So they were supposed to have this game out by like 2012. And then at some point the studio had like run out of funding or something like that. And they had all but closed down essentially. I mean, they weren't really in active development with anything. So this game really feels like it got revived probably around 2018 or so was when it really picked up steam and you started hearing about it again.
Okay.
And then obviously the war in Ukraine, which is terrible. They have a documentary on YouTube about developing during the war and like what was going on, and how that worked out for them. I know there's actually people who worked on this game who were killed, who like went to volunteer on the front lines and were killed. So there's definitely a lot to unpack there, but just
that's crazy.
You know, the story of GSC Game Worlds, the developer on its own, is a bit odd because they've had issues basically from day one. I mean, the reason Metro 2033 exists is because a bunch of people on the development team thought that the management of GSC Game Worlds was incompetent and that game was never going to ship. That first Stalker game was never going to ship. So they were like, we're going to go make Metro 2033 and fuck you guys. And then, you know, funnily enough, that game also ended up kind of having some development problems. But yeah, I don't know. There's something in the water over there in the Ukraine that just makes people one, have really good ideas and good video games, and two, apparently it must distract them from making them because it takes 9 years and God knows how much money, and they always come out, you know, semi-broken or something. So don't come for me, Ukraine.
They're too busy right now, don't worry.
Yeah.
They seem like the type of games that sort of get lost in the sauce and instead of just like sticking to maybe a certain vision or a game plan, they like the vision takes hold of them and it just is like an ever continuing thing. And you know, whereas if you set out and it's just like, we're going to do this and we're going to make this box, but instead they're making the box and they're like, what if the box also had like, you know, and they just keep going and going and going. And they're like, well, fuck, we actually have to make this game and, you know, complete it. We can't just, we have so much fucking data to,
scope creep,
right?
Yeah, there is always something very tangible about how these games feel, like Metro and Stalker. They really want you to feel like you're in the environment. It's similar to what Cyberpunk's trying to do, right? I mean, they want you to feel like you're in a world. So I do think there is something that's challenging about that goes beyond, you know, it's the Bethesda excuse, right? I mean, if we want to have all this interaction, then there's got to be some sacrifices. Who wants to go next? Best world.
Mine's pretty simple. I just did Black Myth Wukong.
Nice. I almost picked that actually.
This was on my short list. Yeah.
I am a sucker for anything that is like fantastical in the way that they present it like this. So where you have like a bunch of characters that are constantly getting introduced throughout the entirety of the game, and I don't know. It's just was it hit me in the heart in the right way. So
Yep. I am a big fan of that world and seeing it portrayed in like the darker sort of envisioned way that it is, and just the way they sort of I love it. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think the reason I almost gave it to this was mostly around just how it felt to kind of walk around, how interesting everything looked. Like it just felt like even the stuff that was familiar, like a forest, it felt like they had crafted it in a way that still made it, I don't know, inspiring, interesting.
It felt like it was in another world.
And you wanted to see like what was around every corner. You kind of wanted to see what the next major environment would be, like when you go from the jungle to the desert to, you know, whatever. It kind of just kept, but I never finished it. So apparently it didn't keep me strung along enough, I guess.
I didn't finish it either, but
I don't think any of us did.
It was still my favorite. I mean, all they had to do was just make the combat a little bit more interesting, and I'll finish it. Yeah, that's all. They got it next time. Next time, moving forward,
I think
they'll learn. So,
would y'all pick it back up when the DLC drops?
Is there DLC?
Oh yes.
Maybe.
I mean, I could. It's not like the story's like hard to follow or anything. I could just finish it up and then play the DLC.
My hope from the DLC is that they add more to the combat, as well as not just more content to explore and fight, like actually more skills and stuff. That would be my hopes. Yeah.
Maybe, I guess we'll see. But yeah.
Like more chapters is obvious content that we're going to get, but hopefully there's more than just that. But we'll see. Yeah.
Honestly, even talking about it right now, because I just got done playing Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and I was like, damn, I want another hack and slash to play. I might as well just go fucking back and then finish up Wukong.
Yeah.
Honestly. So, but yeah. What about you, Crossley?
Yeah, it's definitely Rebirth, without a doubt. And as for a lot of the things Chandler was saying, like it really was always going to win just because it's a world I grew up with, portrayed in a whole new light with more detail that I could only ever imagine until this game came out. And I'm getting to see things that I know and experienced as a kid as fucking PS1 polygons fully realized in some of the highest fidelity we have available to us right now. And it's like, holy fuck, it's literally like a dream come true from my childhood. And I got to live and breathe that world for like, you know, however many hours. And it's just so well realized. All the fucking areas are like, it's exactly how I picture it. It's like, as I'm coming up to it, I'm like, fuck, this is that place. Like, I immediately recognize it. Or as I'm coming up to a specific moment that had only happened until now in the original game. And it's like, dude, I know exactly where we're at, like what's about to happen, what they're about to say, or, you know, more or less, you know, it's so perfectly realized for me. It's such a good world. They did it. They did the thing.
Yeah, there is an interesting difference between what you're saying. I see what you mean. It's the one thing I guess is that, you know, Final Fantasy VII, I mean, a lot of the, even art style wise, like the differences would be pretty vast between the original and this, which is interesting. Because like I kind of knew that this is what you were going to go with, but also when you were saying like, oh, these are the same reasons for me as it is for you know what I mean?
Yes, but yeah, it's like literally the words you were saying at the time was like, oh, these are exactly the things I was going to say, but I knew it was like different. It's just it was funny how it was like very similar words. Basically,
it is cool, and I've heard other people who are major. Like I did play through Final Fantasy VII Original a few years ago, and I hadn't played it since I was a kid. And I do feel like that does, you do feel the nostalgia points in it, right? When I was playing through Remake and some of Rebirth, but also the games are so different that it almost kind of separated in my mind in a way, like to a degree that I kind of forgot at a certain point that I was playing through something that I would already know. I mean, like there's moments, story beats, right, where you get to a location and you're like, yes, but then as a whole, it's easy to forget that you're playing through a remake, I guess, in some ways, because they've added so much, they've changed so much. There's kind of an interesting experience there that's like part nostalgia and part like just kind of flipping everything that you think around in weird ways. So
yeah, for sure.
Okay, so best world, Stalker 2 for me, Black Myth Wukong for Merced, and FF7 Rebirth for Crossley. Good picks. Visual excellence. Best looking, basically. This could be, art, technical. I took mine a bit in a different direction. I think maybe will be surprising. I'm not sure. This was a tough one for me as well, because I think that this was one of the strongest years for visual design from a lot of different perspectives. You could come at this from so many angles.
Yep.
That it's kind of tough. I mean, there's a choice that I think was kind of the obvious choice, and a bit there's an obvious artistry choice, there's an obvious technical choice, and then for me, I kind of went with just a fucking wild card. But
mine, if I may,
please,
is Wukong.
Okay.
It's like so close to best world for the same reasons I would give this to it. It's just Final Fantasy wins for personal reasons, but seeing the journey to the West, like type fucking lore portrayed so well, and the fucking fidelity of the game is just impressive. Like it all looks really good. Like, oh man, it is just very well made.
When they have like the close up on faces and stuff.
Just like, and art direction is immaculate. So like the style of that game is oozing out of the cracks just constantly. Like it definitely has a fucking vibe. Love it.
Yeah, there was like a moment where it's in like the snowy area, but you have to go up like a flight of stairs basically.
Yeah, I was thinking
very
of this
narrow,
as well.
Very narrow area. And there's a bunch of carved in like Buddha statues that are on the walls. They're pretty small. Yeah. And I was like, hold on. And I turned the camera and I pressed my fucking face up against the wall, and that shit still looked really fucking good. And I was like, oh my God.
No, this is
every
still
single fucking Buddha like statue through the whole thing all the way up.
Yeah.
I also
still
I
the
thought
only
of that
game that like, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say I thought of that exact area. The same exact thing. So sorry, Chris, go ahead.
No, you're good. This is still the only game that like made my PS5 overheat consistently, which I didn't even know it could do. I guess it makes sense now, but it's just like funny that it's like they really tried to push the gas on it for PS5 because it looks and runs really well, other than certain boss moments, the frames dip and stuff. But like, it's clearly like pushing it, you know what I mean? It's like fucking, it's chugging over there and to the point that it shuts down.
Okay.
Good shit.
Good. Yeah, I had this on my short list. This was an amazing looking game. It wasn't, I don't think, ever going to win for me, but I'm glad that somebody's calling it out because I think it is really good. Merced, you want to go?
Yeah, Kunitsu-Gami.
Nice.
Fuck. Yeah, that's mine as well.
Nice.
That's what I was thinking whenever you're talking about us like saying the same things. I was like, it's gonna fucking happen again.
Because okay, I went through most of the year being like metaphor, right? Like this is metaphor's category.
I was going to ask, what would be y'all's like other choices, just out of curiosity? What's like a close second? So metaphor.
Yeah, metaphor, and then I mean for best world also metaphor, right? I mean it's just such a fucking unbelievably cool space, and the design is a huge part of that. I mean the characters, the way they're designed, the visuals, the UI, the vibe of everything. So sorry, what's yours, Merced?
My second, honestly, would probably be Silent Hill 2. I'm not gonna lie.
That's kind of what I thought you were gonna say. Honestly,
I'm a huge sucker for like horror visuals and stuff, and they just, bro, it's holy shit, dude. Like Silent Hill is amazing. Whenever like they nailed it, they nailed the remake so fucking hard.
I really thought that's where you were going with it. That's why I was kind of surprised.
It was there.
Kunitsu-Gami. So tell me why you think Kunitsu-Gami, because I have some pretty good reasons as well.
Really, it's just how unique it is. Just insanely unique visuals. Almost this weird cell shading / like pastel mixed type of visual style that they decided to go with. That like is it's also ingrained within the combat as well. So almost the entirety of the time that you are playing the game, it is almost like you are watching like a painting in motion, which is like they just did such an amazing job visually, and it is conveyed through the combat, and it's conveyed the entirety of the time that you're playing. So
yeah. The monster design, the character design across the board, really. I mean, the villagers, once they they have like their basic forms where this is like their villager, and then you turn them into a class, and then they get a bit more ornamental. And as you upgrade the classes, their visuals change, become more complex and more otherworldly. Brilliant. I mean, just brilliant. You can recognize every class at a glance, which is
easily,
amazing.
So quickly.
The design of the main character and the Shrine Maiden, the monster design, everything about it is just so the arcing, like the color arc whenever you like do a slash, or like there's effects that happen. The red enemy,
and the bubbles pop out and everything.
Yeah, I mean, just everything about it is just fantastic looking.
Yeah, it's intertwined with the audio design in such an intense way that I would. And also another thing too. I don't know if you felt this way, but the game is very claustrophobic. And I feel like the visual design really, really helps to such an intense degree to alleviate that sense of just being in a tight, confined space for a lot of the game.
Yeah.
Even whenever you go out to the world map, it doesn't really give you a sense of scale. And it really does make you feel like you're in a pretty small area for the entirety of the game. But I think that the visual design itself alleviates what would be a huge negative for the game and makes it like, almost like a strong point. Where like this explosion of visual excellence is like contained in such a small area. It's done a lot better in that way than it would be in a large sprawling map, like Breath of the Wild or something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, just and I'm not like an Okami guy. I mean, I think it's cool, but it's not, it's not me. But you can feel the DNA of the uniqueness from that era of Capcom. Coming through here. Like there's just something about the way it looks that is so striking. And I feel like so many people were interested in this game until they learned what kind of game it was. And that makes me sad because the first trailer was mostly focused on how good it looks. Everybody was talking about how good it looks.
Yeah, it looks so interesting.
It's really, it's cool that they almost bring it in like a diorama sense. Like you kind of get these like tiny little dioramas of different slices of the world, different areas in terms of design, in terms of weather.
Oh, when you get to look at the desserts and stuff.
Oh yeah, the desserts. Oh,
bro!
Fuck.
Oh, it's so good.
Amazing. Sorry, Crossley, you were gonna say.
Fuck, I forgot. It wasn't important. Whatever it was.
I will say that the vibe, the intense vibe that I got from the game was that it felt like I had found a random game at Blockbuster or at Movie Gallery, and then I just like rented it out, and I was like, let's go see what the fuck this is.
Yeah,
I got such an intense feeling of that from the game. That I don't know, in a very, very positive way. It was just such a unique feeling, you know. It was almost like it was hard to ignore.
It does feel like something that somebody would have made in like early 360 era or like late PlayStation 2 Xbox era, right?
Yeah,
like it just has that quality to it, non-derogatory. Like it's just really cool, and it would be on a top 10 for me this year for sure. Really good game.
Agreed.
But in this category kind of layout, this felt like the place to recognize it. Okay, so visual excellence. Crossley picked Black Myth Wukong, and Merced and I both picked Kunitsu-Gami. Great choices. Moving on. Best character.
Mine's kind of a cop-out, so I'll go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's James Sunderland from Silent Hill 2.
You know, you say it's a cop-out, but I actually hear people saying that with the new performance, they like his character more.
I could see that 100%, yeah. The performance is really good. Like really, really, really good. I was very, very satisfied because he was put up for best voice actor, right?
Yeah.
For the Game Awards. Completely deserved. 100% deserved. He stands out from all the other characters to such an intense degree that it is jarring when he is interacting with other characters throughout the game. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like he has already been written 15, 20 years ago. So but like
yeah, unfortunately more than that.
Shit. but you know what I'm saying though, so it's like I don't know if like I truly wanted to give this one to him, but like you said, like the performance definitely 100% ramps it up. But the story, the character arc, and the way that by the end of the game, I really don't want to spoil anything because I do want Crossley to play it, because I don't know, Crossley, if you know the story of Silent Hill 2. I won't spoil anything, just that the way that you can walk away at the end of that game with so many different emotions, different people walking away with completely different perspectives and emotions on this one character, I believe just makes it so dynamically crucial for video games in general that we need more characters like this. And we need more stories like this to propel them to be characters like this. Yeah. But yeah, that's my dude.
Okay. I need to play this. I mean, that's
very
where my head's at. I have it installed. Now that Stalker's done, it's likely that's where I'll head next. So, Crossley.
I'm sorry in advance, but I genuinely think maybe y'all will understand one day. It's
Tifa.
It's definitely Cloud for me. Absolutely. The way they handle, I'm going to try to handle this the best I can, because I want y'all to see what I've seen fresh. But the way they handle him basically having like schizo breaks the whole game, especially leading closer and closer towards the end, is like so good. I mean, at some point, if not multiple points, I fucking hate Cloud because I'm like sick of him being fucking broken, basically. But by the end of it all, like everything you do and a lot of the stuff that happens, it gets to a place where like I don't know, I'm just so impressed. Like there's so much, I don't know, I really need to replay it, but there's so much that I'm like, did that even happen? What is literally even real anymore? Because I don't know what Cloud is just fucking making up and hallucinating, and I like, and this, that, the other, and how they do it all with
almost
all
like,
the different characters, with Tifa and Aerith and the rest of the party, everybody, whatever the fucks their names are, like how they perceive it all happening, and then you, the player's perception at the end, because you're genuinely unsure. They basically like flash you the truth for like a second, and you're like, wait, what? That wasn't like real. Like he's so far gone, and it's done so well. I don't know.
I assume somebody has done this analysis before, but if not, then I'm a genius. They're making you Cloud because you legitimately have memories as a player of this story taking place in a different way that feel real to you. And then
there's definitely a good bit of playing with both, where it's like they're fucking with you, the player, that have expectations, but then also if you're going in blind, you've never known the story. This is like, I don't even I don't know what that feels like, obviously, because I have that memory, I have all that reference, but like you're literally just like, dude, what the fuck is I don't have anything to base this off of, so I'm just actually confused is what I imagine it's like.
Yeah, and in original Final Fantasy VII, they play with the fact that Cloud has unstable memories, right, a lot, and so they're doing it again. If you're a new player, you get to kind of experience that from the jump, although now filtered it through another layer, because this is a remake where different things occur. But as also as a player, they're doing it to you, and you're not really sure what's real, what's happening. And I think it is a really smart design choice, really smart story choice. It's for a remake.
Bold. It's so fucking, like, the balls on these guys with some of the stuff they do. And they're just like, this is for someone. It's like so crazy to me that I'm just like I have to be in the minority, right? How many people are going to get that, or like have it affect them in the way that it affected me? Like, I know plenty of people have played the original and stuff. I don't mean it like that. It's just like it considering I don't know. It's just so crazy. I don't want to, I'm trying not to be specific, but even like what you were saying with how they kind of fuck with the player, it's like really crazy too, because in this game, when this series of events happened in the original, this is when they tell you everything about Zack and Crisis Core, at least what they told you back then. They've expanded on that way more now, but whenever this part of the game happened, that's when you learn about all that stuff. Whereas in this game, they just expect you to know all of that. They don't give you a recap of that stuff. They're just assuming you know all of it already, which is very ballsy of them, because they're doing things that are twists and turns on that. And you're like, wait, is that how it really happened? Do I remember that wrong? And is this that, or is this? And it's just like, you don't even get that effect if you've never seen any of that before. I don't know. It's just interesting how they play it all. And I think it's like very ballsy, especially by the end. You're like, wow, I can't believe they played their cards like this. This is crazy. Where are we going from here? And I don't even know. It's so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's a game, that's one of those 100-hour games that I started but did not finish this year. So I'm probably like a little shy of halfway, maybe after halfway. I don't remember where I am anymore. So remember the military
on
parade?
PC, I actually plan on playing it again. I'm pretty excited.
There's no way I'm paying for that game again, but I will enjoy my PlayStation 5 regular copy. As somehow having exerted enough self-control not to purchase a PlayStation 5 Professional, I will now force myself through a form of torture known as use the old outdated console to play the game that they developed with the new hardware in mind. Because everybody talks about how much improved it is on PlayStation 5 Professional over PlayStation 5 Mongoloid Edition.
Casual. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm going to finish it. I don't want to start over. I think that would kill me. So, so
you didn't start over remake when you picked that back up either, right?
Did I? I guess not.
You did.
I guess not. No,
I think you're on brand for Chandler,
or
so
Final Fantasy 16. Now that I think about it, I
right,
didn't start
exactly.
over any of these games.
Totally on brand.
Yeah. So
whereas Merced also on brand, waiting for the PC port that is going to play it.
Yeah.
I was literally looking over at my second monitor just now to see what the percentage is at. It's at 34%. Might have to wait till tomorrow, but that's okay.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Say it.
Say what?
Yours.
Oh shit. I also should have been writing you guys this down. Okay. But I remember. Okay. Mine. This was actually really hard. I had a tough time because I think that there are a lot of good characters this year, but there's not really a lot of good characters that got, I think, enough screen time. Like if you were gonna go, like, to me, I'm trying to remember, but was that last year or the year before that we did this and we gave it to the Resident Evil 4 merchant? It feels like there's a lot of like Resident Evil 4 merchant tier where it's like you got a really good character and then they didn't get used quite enough. Like I felt that way. I think Stalker 2 is like a prime example of this. What?
You're right. It goes to the headless guy with the guitar from Wukong. I changed
that. Was immediately what I thought of.
Totally.
I mean, literally immediately what I thought of.
Literally, I absolutely. I mean, I think that there's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
In a bunch of games this year.
Right.
But there was something that I do think. Initially, I was like, "This is the metaphor category" because there's a bunch of good metaphor characters.
Yeah, is it not?
It's not.
Okay. Metaphor cucked again at our awards.
I know.
I assumed you were going to do the villain.
He's so good. He's on the list. He's on the short list for me.
Yeah.
I also put Heizme in there. But no, this is actually where Mouthwashing gets its due.
Okay.
Because best character doesn't have to mean good. And by the end of the game, I think this is a good character. It's Swansea from Mouthwashing. I think the journey that you go on with Swansea is kind of emblematic of the overall themes of the game, which is that at the start of the game, you're like, this guy's unstable and I'm going to have a bad time because of this gruff mechanic asshole who doesn't trust me and seems shifty. And it turns out by the end of that game, when he's doing his monologue and everything has occurred, you realize you were the shifty one. He didn't trust you and he was looking out for everyone else. And I do think that that is a masterful bit of storytelling, especially to reverse it on the player, because you basically go through the whole game having this revelation about yourself. But if you begin to examine Swansea's character, it's like an inverse relationship. And I rewatched the monologue that he goes on last night.
It's really good
to help me decide. And I don't know. It was funny because Jennifer was next to me. She's like, wow, this is trying really hard. And I'm like, okay, yes. But also sometimes things that try hard can be fucking good and cool. Because I think while Mouthwashing does try a bit hard to be like important or interesting in some ways, it also just is. It's just cool and interesting. The design of it, the visuals, you know, it falls into the HellBlade 2 category of barely a video game on some level, but also the writing, the plot, everything that happens. I mean, we beat it in one sitting, and I think it was like a gripping experience from start to I mean, I needed to know, right?
I enjoyed the fuck out of it. I enjoyed watching the fuck out of it. So
it's short. It's like 2.5 to 3 hours, you know, and it punches well above its weight writing wise, I think. Character writing specifically. The dialogue is really well done. You know, it can be hammy, like Daisuke is a hammy character, which is fine. Swansea is
by design.
Yeah, right, exactly. Swansea is kind of a caricature, but they flip it on its head a little bit. And I think that there's just some really savvy decisions made that make this game a bunch of characters who are really strong, but in particular, Swansea exemplifies, I think, what is cool about Mouthwashing. Very complicated game, complicated character, but well done.
I loved his end monologue. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Cool boss fight too. Very terrifying, honestly. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like gripped. Yep. Okay. So best character, James Sunderland from Silent Hill 2 from Merced. Cloud Strife. Is his last name still Strife?
Yeah.
Do they mention his last name at any point? I guess they do.
Probably. I'm not sure.
Like, does anyone ever say Cloud Strife in the game?
Probably. I'm not sure.
Okay. And Swansea for Mouthwashing for me.
Never heard of that game? But
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Crossley only plays marquee blockbuster games. We know this.
No, I just, play way too much Magic. If y'all don't fucking talk about it, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, fair. I played through this whole game for an audience of people in our Discord, so you just happen to not be on that night.
Yeah. Crossley's had a year.
Yeah, it's true. Favorite multiplayer experience?
Fuck, dude. I hate this.
This is where things are going to get dicey. We're going to start yelling at each other. Say it again.
Helldivers 2.
I don't know.
Merced
seems to think incorrectly that it's Helldivers 2. No,
it is Helldivers 2. I can't even for me it was far and away Helldivers 2. I don't know what about y'all?
Chandler.
Deadlock.
Oh. Yeah.
It's Deadlock. It was almost
still
Helldivers 2. It was almost Helldivers 2 for me.
It's still Helldivers 2. Anything that gives me that old feeling of like I truly felt like I was playing Left 4 Dead again. That was the main thing for me. I really fucking love that game. It was like the perfect because I loved Helldivers 1, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then just like the way that they brought it into a 3D space or fully realized 3D space. And just had a gameplay loop where it really felt like I was having fun with my friends playing Left 4 Dead without having no competitive shit, no bullshit, just like run around, kill alien bugs, kill robots, do the objectives. Yeah, I mean, it's just a ton of fucking fun. So, and the chaos.
I agree with everything you're saying except the Left 4 Dead perspective. I mean, I get what you mean. Like, it makes you feel like how you felt playing Left 4 Dead, but I mean, man, I think Helldivers 2 was going to be this for me, and the reason I pivoted away is mostly because I can't describe how intensely passionate I felt about Deadlock in a way that did not translate to Helldivers 2, but it is cool. Like, I think Helldivers 2 is a game that, if they were a bit smarter about it, could last for years. There's still something missing from the formula that
it's almost there for me. Yeah. I agree with that so hard. It's like when I think about it, if y'all asked me, I might play, I might be down, I might have fun. Like, yes, all those things are true, but there's no part of me that wants to play it in a vacuum, like not even a little bit. Whereas like any other game like this, I could almost see that, me playing it on my own or with randoms or something like that. You know what I mean? Whereas this is basically only a thing I do because my friends are doing it. And I am only doing it because I enjoy doing things with my friends, not necessarily because I enjoy Helldivers. And I do. Wait a second. But again, it's because I'm doing it with my friends. Like, this would not be fun without the friends. So where's the fun actually coming from? And I could do anything with my friends. It doesn't necessarily have to be Helldivers. And to your point about Deadlock or whatever the fuck else, it's like, yeah, that had like a much tighter grip on me. And I would like, think about that game when I wasn't playing it type thing. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of closer to, you said, wait a second, what's up?
Beep, 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 beep. Breaking news at this hour. No, I'm just kidding. But I was just about to look up, did the Pokemon trading card game digital edition come out this year? Because I was trying to think about like, yeah, what would be a Crossley pick, and I was like, no, the Magic trading card game digital didn't come out this year. Mm-mm. So, and I guess the Pokemon one did, but I haven't heard you talk about it. But it seemed like something that you'd be into.
He's gonna say Pow World.
Is he gonna say Pow World?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
No. It's actually really I've kind of still been deciding. There is actually a mixture of things, but I don't know. I think it probably goes to Marvel Rivals.
Okay, thank God. I had already highlighted
the
it.
other
so.
pick. Yeah, the other pick is Deadlock.
What?
Is like the one
Holy shit.
The only reason I didn't play that game more is because I knew I don't have the time to be as good at that game as I want to be. I just don't.
That's fair.
Without sacrificing my other video game time, which I'm not going to do.
Yeah,
I just don't care enough. I'm a fucking like, I can't. And so that is the only thing. And the games take way too long. I wish it was like shorter runtime for matches. But I mean, dude, that game is like exactly where I want those types of games to go. It is doing so many things right. The community's toxic as fuck, which is insane to me, but shit, what can you do? The game is genius. I think they fucking really made something special. Marvel Rivals gives me a similar feeling, just with way less effort, basically. I don't have to try anywhere near as hard to have that competitive itch scratched, and I can jump in and out of games very quickly, and if I'm having a bad time, it'll be over soon, and I love Marvel, so that's a huge plus for me, as you guys know. I mean, Merced, if it was fucking Wrestling Rivals, like, come on, dude. Fucking, you know what I mean. Like, but yeah, it's just a lot of fun. But Deadlock is like, I've really been thinking about it this whole time. It's like, fuck, dude, which one am I going to pick? But it was never Helldivers, and I think that game is good, but only because I'm playing with my friends.
Yeah, I had put Marvel Rivals on my shortlist, but part of me knew it wasn't ever going to really make it because I had Helldivers ahead of it still. I do really like. I think Marvel Rivals is a well-made game. I do enjoy it. I get tired of it faster than I thought I would already at this point. Can't really explain why that is. It's similar to Helldivers. You know how Helldivers is like, let's just do one campaign of three missions and then stop.
Yep.
That's how I feel about Marvel Rivals, except it's basically like three matches. I'm like, let's do 3 matches and then I'm good. Like I play a bit of tank, I play a bit of healer, and I play a bit of DPS, and then I go, all right.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Sometimes I'm similar with it, with Rivals specifically. Sometimes I'll do a few rounds and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm good on this right now. Not even like because we're losing or anything. I'm just like, this isn't what I want to do. And then sometimes I'll play that game all night until I go to bed, and I'm like, holy fuck, I just wasted my whole night. That game, it has a weird hold on me. But sometimes I feel the same way.
I put. Let's see. Is Marvel Rivals on Steam? Where are we playing that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just pull up our hour counts really quick. I'm just curious to see where you guys are at.
Turn on my PlayStation.
Okay. Merced, what's your hour count in Marvel Rivals total?
30.
Okay. Now hit me with your Helldivers 2 hour count.
194.
For what?
Jesus Christ. This man is a true fan. 194?
What is he even playing?
Did you ever leave it running?
Oh, wait, I did. So take off let's shave off 30.
Okay, so still 160. That's a lot. 160 hours.
Yeah, I want to be
Helldivers
safe.
2 for Merced.
Oh, mine's nothing near that.
And he said 30 hours for Marvel Rivals. Okay. Crossley, what have you got?
I just want y'all to know this is my relationship with Helldivers 2. I uninstalled it, so I need to go find it. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Marvel Rivals for me, I have 18.6 hours. So respectable, actually. More than I was expecting for a game that new. I have 40 hours in Helldivers 2.
Wow, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. Merced, give me your Deadlock hours.
128.
Okay. 79 for me, which is more than I was expecting, actually.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot for you.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, let's. Crossley is struggling, so we might have to move on from this.
I can't
silly
find
game here.
Helldivers. When did that
The
shit
thing,
come
the
out?
thing for Deadlock is that
Not only
like,
did he
it would
delete
be-
Helldivers 2, he emailed Sony and said, "Remove this shit from my account." Go ahead, Merced.
I feel like Deadlock should be a lot
100 hours.
higher.
Okay,
Oh, there you go, 100.
you think
I
Deadlock?
feel like
should be
Deadlock
higher?
should. I feel like my Deadlock hours should be higher than they are. I don't think that they should be higher than Helldivers 2. But I don't know. That game is also incredibly sweaty, like giga sweaty.
Very sweaty.
And
I think.
and I don't do very well with sweaty games anymore. So like getting 128 is pretty high actually. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, that's my thing too. Is it's just so sweaty? But sorry. Go
So
ahead.
Deadlock is my pick, and the reason for that is that I felt a fiending for that game the first month or more that I had not felt in years.
Yep.
I mean, I needed to play Deadlock. It was crazy.
No, it was annoying how much you wanted to play it. I was like over it.
If Deadlock was not now just Sweat Central, I would still be playing it. I mean, it is truly one of the most interesting, unique.
It's so good.
Combination of mechanics and elements. So fun. Good character design. Good.
You know what I
map
find
design.
myself thinking a lot
What?
when I play Marvel is like, man, I wish this was closer to Deadlock in terms of the gameplay loop that you're doing match to match.
Yeah.
Like, God, and they just had the match time down to like 20 minutes tops or something. I'd be like, dude, I'd be playing Marvel Rivals all fucking day.
I think there's something so special about what they cooked up there that is being ruined by just how sweaty everyone has to be all the time. And I think the balance isn't quite there with Deadlock yet. I do think that there is too many ways to get insta-killed that make that game really frustrating. Abusive items. It's basically League of Legends with the brakes ripped off. Like you can just go so buck nasty in fucking Deadlock from minute one if you know what you're doing. And like I appreciate a game with, you know, a relatively, I mean, I was going to say relatively easy on ramp. Even the on ramp for Deadlock isn't super easy, but I appreciate a game with good entry points and a really high ceiling. But there does need to be a few stops along the way, because what it feels like right now is Deadlock is either you're playing against a person who has never touched a video game before, and then the next match you're playing against the guy who invented video games, and he's been doing nothing but. This guy traveled forward in time to play Deadlock for 100 years and now has come back to wreak havoc on your life specifically, is how it feels playing Deadlock.
No,
sometimes.
yeah, it's like the guy you beat invented time travel in your first game, and now he's trained and come back to beat you.
Exactly. Yeah, like he went into the hyperbolic time chamber,
right,
and then came out fucking complete. His fingers have 6-packs on them.
It is pretty bad. It was also, I mean, it was really bad for us against other people as well. I mean, shit, like if you put me and Yak in a lane, or there was like a couple other combinations that we had where that lane was done in like about 5 minutes, maybe less than that. And like it's fucking over. Like that now it's time to just like run fucking rough shot over the entirety of the map at that point. So
and there's
just the skill disparity is so fucking wide. And I don't know if they've introduced MMR yet into the normal queue, but once they do, then I'm sure that experience is going to be a whole lot better.
Yeah, I have reinstalled it as of a week ago, so I will report back.
I did too.
I do think I wanted to see the new characters, but I haven't booted it up yet. But I do think that there is a chance that this game comes back in a major way, but it just needs something. It needs a tighter matchmaking system, something to really pull it back from the reins, because right now it is fully dominated by people who want to make you have a bad time specifically. So
the active player base is pretty small relatively to what it used to be as well. So the people who are playing that game are
exactly
like Yeah, they're going to be.
What is
people
it
who
right
are
now?
Very, very good. Right now it's 17,000, 18,000 peaking in a 24-hour period, basically every day.
Okay,
So
that's not as
which
bad
is
as I was
not bad.
expecting. Actually, yeah.
That's a healthy. It's a healthy player base. It's just in comparison to the skill disparity that you would see prior, whenever it was first coming out. You're not going to see like new people anymore. You know, you're going to see people who have played the game.
Yeah. I mean, what's just by comparison, I mean, Counter-Strike 2 has a current player count of 1,272,000.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's insane.
Dota 2 682,000, PUBG 388, Marvel Rivals 310, Path of Exile 2 226, GTA 5 193. I mean, these are the numbers that you expect from a Valve game.
A healthy game.
Not even healthy.
Even just well,
but
for the thing we're talking about, though, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for the, and I do think that this was kind of intentional on their part. It's to say, okay, well, we wanted this to ramp up slowly. I do think they probably would have even said, hey, we want it to ramp up even slower than it did, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say this is probably on track for them. Like, they're not viewing this as a problem right now. Yeah. But I do think that Valve would expect near Dota levels of player base for something like this
in the future.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, in the future. Exactly. I think amongst the player base, basically everyone had an understanding after they had their, not even like their fill, but after, you know, shit, dude, like the amount that we played, everyone kind of had that full understanding where it's like, okay, well, this game isn't done, and I have all the time in the world to come back later, whenever it's in a situation where there's a lot more content to be had, or a lot more characters at the very least, right? Because I mean, like, shit, we had like every single fucking or every other week, the literal map itself was changing. They were modifying different parts of the map.
Yeah, they were changing lanes and stuff.
So I think like from the perspective of the player base, it's like, okay, well, like once all this shit settles, I can come back, and then like this way I can learn the game, knowing that this shit's not going to fucking change so violently over the course of like a 2-week period. Because for how much effort that you put into this fucking game, like having the meta change or your character get fucked in a 2-week period is going to feel really, really bad.
For sure.
So
agree. Okay, that's favorite multiplayer experience. Helldivers 2 for Merced, Marvel Rivals for Crossley, and Deadlock for Will. Best music. We're almost done. I feel like we're really cooking.
We've been at it for almost 2 hours, actually.
Best music is obvious.
Best music. Let's
Chandler, if we don't have the same one, I'm going to be really disappointed.
Okay, I'm pulling up YouTube. I'm sharing my screen.
Mine was very difficult. I don't know about you guys.
No, this was not difficult for me at all.
Hit me.
You want me to go first?
Whoever. I'll go first. I'll go first. Okay. It's Metaphor.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's Metaphor. Yeah. What's your favorite song, Crossley?
We can hit Warrior in Arms. It's classic. It's not my favorite, maybe.
What's This is like the this is the normal battle music, right? Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, it is,
and I've counted. This guy goes for like 35 full seconds. He's just fucking spitting bars, dude.
Yeah, he's losing
Crazy.
it. Yeah, imagine, because I was reading about this. This guy was like an actual monk, and then they were like,
as
hey,
credited, chief priest of the Myojoji temple.
Yeah. Imagine someone going to you and being like, hey, can you spew some fucking hot fire nonsense all over this track, please? It does go hard. It does go really hard. You guys have played it more recently than me, so I'm blanking. What's the name of the town, the main city?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I truly don't remember.
Racist.
Fuck.
Central.
Fuck. You're killing me.
Trump's America.
Dude, I hardly played that game.
Did you really?
I got to the first dungeon and I stopped.
I got to the dragon and stopped. Yeah.
Crossley didn't even make it to the town.
I made it.
True, he actually did.
I made it in passing. Yeah, no, I haven't. I think that's where I stopped is when I was like in town. But this is like the only game that I haven't finished that I genuinely really want to. Like, I can't wait to play more of this game. I just haven't yet. I want to be able to really sink my teeth into it.
I mean, there's just so many bangers. I wish this was broken out into tracks because the one where you're on... Whoa. So, to all the listeners,
the town, isn't
that was
it?
loud. This is one of the towns. I don't think this is in order, which is really bumming me out.
What are you looking for?
Oh. Here we go. So obviously this is all in fucking Japanese. This opening track, this thing whenever you get like into the dream world stuff, or you're talking to what's his name? I mean, choice, dude. Choice. This is Kino.
The whole thing is, all of the music is so good.
That's one of the towns. Okay. We're gonna find it. All of these title tracks are in Japanese, so there's no way.
I have them in English in front of me, but I don't know that I can help you.
It's just whatever the first town theme is.
That could be anything. None of these are a town name.
That's
except
probably
Verga
not true.
Island, which is an island. I'm fucking looking at the track names.
That's fine. Okay. We get the idea. Metaphor, banger, fucking music. If I can find it. I mean, if I pulled up my Apple Music, so they
at the end.
They put this on Apple Music, and it's literally downloaded onto my phone, so I can cue this bad boy up whenever I feel like.
Yeah, me too. I have it on my phone as well.
Like it goes so unbelievably hard.
Martyra, Old Castle Town.
Oh, that's a good one.
Someone needs to make an app where like your phone will detect where you are. And you
Royal
can, like,
Capital Grand
songs.
Trad, Crossley. I thought you were looking at the fucking track list.
Royal Capital.
Royal Capital Grand Trad.
I am. Night or day?
Honestly, both. Okay. Oh, it must be night then. Yeah, this. I hear this when I close my eyes at night.
As you should.
When I stride confidently through the streets of New York City, this plays in my head. God. What an amazing video game. I mean, just yeah. And it's crazy. There are songs from other towns that rival it, and you guys wouldn't have even gotten far enough to have heard them.
One day.
Good ass fucking music though. All right, Merced.
Yeah,
what
maybe
is it?
one day in the future.
What is it?
I sent it to you in Discord. You can skip to like 45, 50. That's when the sauce starts.
Okay. This was on my list as well.
$0 Grubhub delivery.
Okay, I hate that I'm just going to type Batsu theme because if you open up a link in Discord for YouTube, it doesn't open it in the
stream.
So it doesn't factor in the fact that I have YouTube Premium. So then it starts playing fucking ads. I just got a Grubhub Prime ad. Kunitsu-Gami. This is the boss fight?
Yeah, it's a boss fight.
Okay. Oh, this one. funny that you would pick this.
I mean, this shit gets wacky.
It does. You're right.
There's so many songs throughout the entirety of this game that just go fucking so hard.
No, you're right though. It's funny because you're absolutely right that this is a banger. It also is completely unique in the soundtrack, right?
Throughout the entirety of it, yeah. This is probably as far out there as it gets, yeah. If that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It doesn't get used again or anything like that. And the like weird, like almost like math rock jazz-esque shit that it ends up doing is just really really cool.
Yeah, this.
Like, oh my god, bro. Inject that shit into my fucking veins.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct. And what's funny about this to me is that I put this one on my list as well, and like on the short list of things I was choosing between. And when I did it, I was thinking of this, and it's
this is really really
funny.
Good. It's so serene.
These are from the same game. Do you know what I mean? Like,
this is what's always played whenever you are building stuff, right? In between levels, yeah.
Each town has, or each kind of type of town has a different theme. So, like, this is it's the first town, but then, you know, as you get further in, they change it to, like this. And each town theme, I like when I listen to them, I'm like, if I was in a particular mental space, I would openly weep. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's unbelievable.
Yeah, the whole soundtrack's amazing. I mean, obviously this is my choice, but the whole soundtrack is amazing.
It's great. It's really good. I always think of the battle music as well. Obviously very like percussion heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said about Balatro that it is the perfect piece of music composed because it plays in the background of you playing the game Balatro for like hundreds of hours and you never get tired of it. I feel similarly about the percussion in the Kunitsu-Gami battle moments because like you could kind of just you could kind of just vibe with this going during the combat and you would never get tired of it, you know.
It's just not that violent, you know. It gets it gets its point across, like it's really impressive.
I mean, the other games I had on the list, obviously, you know, I put Balatro down. I also put Persona 3 Reload.
Actually, what was mine last year?
I do think Persona 3 Reload has like a specific quality to it that feels more traditional Atlas than Metaphor. I think Metaphor surprised me with how interesting it was, so that's why I went with that. But Persona 3 Reload, I find myself listening to it just a lot. If I'm trying to do work, I just pull that soundtrack up and listen to it. I even listen to to me, the original Persona 3 soundtrack is also really good, and they're both pretty different in some ways. Different mastering, they use different vocal samples and different percussion sounds and stuff. So what was yours last year?
It was Alan Wake 2. I was thinking, Lies of P was also really good. So I couldn't remember if I did Alan Wake 2 or if I did Lies of P, but I went with Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, good year for music. The fact that I could just sit here and keep typing in different games and different songs it means that it was a good year. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think,
Oh, yeah.
There's just so many. I mean, half of the Metaphor soundtrack, I would just happily just sit here and listen to. Yeah. Good shit. Best music. Crossley and I both picked Metaphor. That's a man with good taste right there. Merced picked Kunitsu-Gami. Also amazing. Yeah, hard to say anything bad about most of the games that came out this year. Even something that I put down but we didn't dig into. Shadow of the Erdtree had some really good music this year.
Yeah, for sure.
I really enjoyed the 1000 Times Resist music as well. But although it works really well in game, and I feel like it's not something that translates out of game as strongly as some of these other ones. So, last category. It all comes down to this, for me anyway. I mean, this is like a thing that I always think about a lot. Storytelling excellence. What's the best story? What's the best narrative you experienced this year?
Mine feels like a cop-out again.
Rebirth.
Okay. FF7 Rebirth.
For a lot of the reasons I mentioned earlier regarding the world or regarding Cloud. The storytelling here is insane and really bold. And it's like one of those things, again, when I'm playing it, I'm like, who the fuck is this really for? Because if it's for people like me, that's crazy. It's not mass marketed for everyone. Like a product of this fucking like level of, resources that it takes, like it should be made for everyone. This feels like it's made for me and people like me, and that's fucking insane to me that I don't know, it's so good. Great storytelling. I don't want to say too much. Obviously we can touch base in another podcast when y'all are caught up, but yeah,
I do enjoy it. I think it's going for different things than what I like in stories usually, like what draws me in. But because if I think about what worked so well in Final Fantasy 16, and then I think about what Final Fantasy 7 is, they're so inherently different that I feel like by default, there's no way that it would ever get me in this same way. But it is possible. It is possible. Strong characterizations either way. I mean, I think the versions of these characters that you get in Remake and Rebirth are ones that it seems like they're really dedicated to giving them some proper development, which I think is cool. And there's a lot of space to do that in Rebirth because the fucking game's like 1,000,000 years long. Merced, is it Silent Hill 2?
It is Silent Hill 2, yes.
Yeah, I remember when the Game Awards one was announced and you gave them shit. And now here you are.
Because I put this game down and then I came back to it a little bit later. But dude, I don't know. Anything that leaves me with a sense of like moral ambiguity at the end, I'm just a fucking sucker for. Like it's just like, especially since you don't really get that all that much in video games. Like it's occurring way more often now, don't get me wrong. Like but yeah, just being able to walk away from that game, and it really made me think about the characters and how I felt about them and how they interacted with each other. I don't want to spoil anything, but how they interacted with each other, the decisions they ended up making, and the way that they conveyed their feelings to one another and things like that. I really actually thought about it for a good while afterwards because I didn't truly know how to feel. And yeah, I don't know. It was just one of those things where it's like, fuck, dude, like that is good. In my opinion, that is very good storytelling. Yep. Or at the very least, it has depth to it, right?
Yep.
So
I left my cursor hovering over the short list that I have, and it happens to be hovering over Erdtree, and it's suggesting that I change it to Nerdtree, which is also not a word, by the way. So I don't know where they're getting that from.
It's
but
trying its best.
But I think that it is throwing some shade at Shadow of the Erdtree here. So the experiencing the narrative of Silent Hill 2 is the main reason I think I would play it. To be honest with you, I think it seems really strong. I've heard they've made some wise choices and changes in regards to it, and in particular, I haven't played Silent Hill 2 in so many years, and I know I finished it at some point, but I don't have like really strong memories of it. So there's definitely a feeling that a lot of this would be new to me.
Yeah, well. I only watched because I'm in the exact same boat as you, where I played. I don't even know how long ago I played it, but I was watching people play the original Silent Hill 2 on Twitch for probably like a good few hours. Other than that, I truly didn't really remember all that much. So by the time I got to the end, I was like, oh fuck, like it was very emotionally impactful is a very, very good way to put it as well.
Yeah.
Any game like this that really makes me walk away from it and actually have to think about it, not necessarily because the subject matter has so much depth to it, but just because I don't know how to feel about it. I think is just phenomenal. I think it's done incredibly well. I just feel like it's kind of a cop out because it's like the story's existed for so long already. They're just retelling the story. But I mean, still, it was the best story that I interacted with this year. So it has to be Silent Hill 2.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I need to, you talking through it is making me realize how badly I want to get through that game. So that could be happening here soon. This was really hard for me as well. I think Metaphor is a really strong argument. Stalker 2, despite a lot of issues, I came away with feeling really strong. I think Shadow of the Erdtree is probably one of the best, if you just viewed it as a contained story with a little bit of background of the original game. I think Shadow of the Erdtree is probably one of the best mini stories From Software has ever told with those characters. But I mean, this is the 1000 times resist category. So that's my pick. I think if this game was ever going to get its due, it was going to be here. And I think it deserves it. I mean, it's sprawling. It's got 10 stories in one big story. There's a little bit of something for everyone. There's familial, strife and drama that plays out over multiple generations of, parents, children, siblings. And when I say generations, I mean thousands of years. You basically get thousands of years of parental strife, of familial strife. You get, a science fiction story about a virus and the apocalypse. You get, some deep kind of morality play around like, okay, how does religion interact with our lives? How does it affect us? How does it affect all of these other things that I've already mentioned, the familial stuff, the science fiction story? They shoot for like such high highs and somehow always stick the landing, which I think is really impressive. So yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. Definitely the thing that, other than Mouthwashing, I think in terms of indie games that I played this year, 1000 Times Resist has stuck with me throughout the whole year, considering I played it like, I don't know, was it like March or something that I think I first started talking about this? It had to have been like
super early because it was a while ago when you first mentioned it.
Yeah. It's maintained a space in my head. According to this, it says I finished it on July 11th. So there we go. Not as long ago as I was expecting, but
I've never heard of this game.
How short the memory of the Crossley is.
Oh, I know you mentioned it once, but like other than that,
Yeah, I think I'd be curious to know how this game is doing. I've seen it get some nominations in some things that are not the Game Awards, which I think it not getting anything in the Game Awards was a bit of a slap. But according to Steam right now, it's got just shy of 2,500 reviews and overwhelmingly positive across the board. So that says everything, I think, to me. Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic game. It's closer to a HellBlade in terms of, mechanical depth, but I would say it has a bit more going on than that. And in general, I think it's trying to tell a very ambitiously wide story, both in terms of scope and in terms of just amount of time covered. Yeah, really impressive. I'd like to see them do some other stuff with this.
Hell yeah.
I think if with a bigger
I wish
budget,
I'd played it by now. I really should play it because it's got like insane reviews.
Yeah, I mean it's just one of those things that some people are going to really vibe with it, and I think those are the people who are already giving it a shot anyway. You know what I mean? Like the types of people who are interested in something like this are probably the target audience and will be really hit by it. It's really strong. I think if the gameplay was a bit better, finger quotes, because it is probably what they were going for, but I think if there was just a bit more going on and the world was a bit easier to navigate, you would find a lot more to enjoy moment to moment about playing it. So,
the Signalis developer recommends it. Wow.
Yeah. Signalis, in my opinion, a better game than 1000 Times Resist, but I think 1000 Times Resist has a lot going for it. So,
yeah, they're doing different things too.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's it. So storytelling excellence. FF7 Rebirth for Crossley, Silent Hill 2 for Merced, 1000 Times Resist for me. That'll do it. We're at the end.
We did it.
We did it. Those are the superlative categories for 2025. I think it was a really good year for games overall. And I think that it's funny, as Merced was saying, which I agree with. I think that there's a lot more games that we didn't get to talk about that much here that we'll talk about more when we do the ranked list. Because there are a lot of games that I really enjoyed that didn't really fall into these and I think deserve some time to discuss. So,
And not an award, but a pseudo award to give out to Chandler. Gamer of the Year, bro. I said it as a joke, but it's so true. You travel more than any of us and are busier than either of us, but I feel like somehow managed to play and finish a fuck ton of video games this year, and it's very impressive.
Yeah, I did go.
Congratulations.
I feel like I got really focused this year on finishing things that I was starting and wanted to see through. There was still a lot of stuff that I missed. Like I'm kind of sad about a lot of things. Like kind of wanted to finish Indiana Jones before we got to this stuff. I kind of wanted to finish.
Game sucks.
I mean, that game's really good. I'm gonna be honest. Lorelei,
I had fun.
Lorelei, I think is really interesting, and I'd like to see it. That Banisher's Ghost of New Eden game that's made by the Vampire people. I'd like to see that. I mean, yeah, Silent Hill 2, as I already said. Dragon's Dogma I didn't even touch, which I should have. You know what's funny about this, though? One thing that I realized, a game that didn't make it at all on any of this stuff, but probably would end up in the low part of a top 10 for me, is Warhammer Space Marine 2, which I think is a really fun game and a well-made game, and somehow didn't fall into any of this.
Still need to play that. Yeah, I fucking kind of blanked on it. I was aware of it at release, but then I just skipped and then forgot.
I think I didn't give it a fair shake. I played it for probably about like 2.5, 3 hours, and then I dropped it.
You were very
didn't
negative.
refund it.
Huh?
Didn't you buy it and refund it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were pretty negative on that game. I put about 15 hours into that game, which is impressive for how not that long it is. Tactical Breach Wizards I didn't finish, but I really enjoyed that. Yeah, there was some stuff this year. I never did end up playing Felvedek.
Still time, brother. Still time.
Also, how did none of us give Shadow of the Erdtree anything?
It's not a video game.
Oh my god, you guys are.
I will
insane.
die on that hill. I think it's highly unclouded of them to put it in Game of the Year, and I won't be.
Guess what? It's going in our top 10 list.
He's going
to try to go in yours.
It's going in our top 10 list.
Not in mine.
We only have one.
Yeah, and if 2 of our 3 lists don't have it, guess what? It doesn't make it, right? Unless I don't understand math.
Merced,
unless you're putting it really high.
You got to see the light here, buddy. You got to see the light. It deserves to be in a top 10 list.
I've heard y'all's podcast where y'all debated this. I don't think he's in your camp.
I mean, I would allow it just for the sake, just because he wants. It's a fusion of all of our top 10s, right? So
yeah,
I'll be like, all right, like if he thinks it's as clouded as it is, then yeah, then allow him to slip one in.
Here's my argument. Okay. There's a lot to say about it, and it does deserve to be on a list in discussion with the best games that came out of the year. It's good enough. It's good enough to fall into the top 10 games of the year.
As someone who just replayed it this week, I disagree.
You replayed it?
Yeah. Cole hadn't played it, so I was helping him out.
This
shit.
This guy is crazy. I mean, I cannot believe I'm even having this conversation, because when we talked about it when it was coming out, you were so fucking high about it.
Yeah, it's a good product, but it's not a video game.
He's dying on semantics. He's taking a hill.
He's right.
And dying on it.
He's right.
It is enough. So I cannot believe we're having this discussion again. All it needed to be was a separate product for you to consider it in the top 10 games of the year. That is the one thing that's holding you back.
Okay. No. Let me be super clear. To me, it's just actually not. Like let's say it was its own product. I don't think, maybe for one of the visual things, because I do think it's like got immaculate style, but I don't know.
Did you even play 10 games this year?
Yeah.
List them.
You'll see me next week, right?
What the fuck is this? In what
I would
world?
say it's a confluence of things, right? Like, obviously, it is just an extension of Elden Ring. It's like, in every possible form and function, in every aspect of the game, it is just simply an extension of Elden Ring.
Yeah,
there's
and so
nothing that makes it its own game.
Yeah, to that point, actually, if it was its own product, I actually think I would like it less if I wasn't getting to bring my character into it and had to just jump into that fresh. I don't really know that it would have as much weight as it did, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure. I'm just highlighting that as a possibility.
But it is true. Like, you know what I'm saying is true. Every aspect of that game is, in and of itself, it is an extension of Elden Ring.
And in the same way, I would have never considered Iceborne in the running if it had came out like this past year.
Even though it's definitively a better experience than World,
and a way better experience than Shadow of the Erdtree. So with
true,
true. You people are fucking insane. I mean, I think that I can't even believe we're doing this. I think in the same argument about that you're making right now about what Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree is could be made about any sequel.
No, not necessarily. No,
because
I see what you're saying. But
I mean, whatever. Like, these games are different enough, but you could say that okay, well, I mean, they're taking everything that made Dark Souls 1 good and trying, to adapt those things in Dark Souls 2, right? In that particular case, it was a different director, and a lot of people hate Dark Souls 2. But like the point still stands that just about any sequel that comes out takes what the learnings of the original game and applies it differently.
But those are new video games, not extensions of the old one that require the old one to even play it. Like, you just are not even close to right here. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I'll be right back.
I don't. This is going into the podcast.
I mean, I'll allow it. Like I said, I think it should all. I think since it is going to be a combination of all of our lists, if you would put it in your list, why not?
It's
like,
I mean,
I should be able to put in Jessica Rabbit for number 5, though. So
what is that?
I don't know. It's probably a video game. I know it's a character.
What are you talking about?
I'm saying it doesn't fit the bill of what should be included for Game of the Year.
What?
Like my games of the year. Since Elden Ring, or since Shadow the Erdtree is not technically a video game, I should also be able to put in something that is not a video game into the list. That was what I was saying.
Okay. This is the Hail Mary argument here. Shadow of the Erdtree is better than Elden Ring.
That is true.
I don't know.
He's right.
It's better.
It is better than Elden
to
Ring.
me, it is Elden Ring. I mean, I'm serious.
Elden Ring came out like what 2 years ago.
No, but to me, this is why this product skew distinction. Okay, they could have released it as a separate DLC or as a separate entry in the store, made it sold separately, run separately, just using the same engine and everything.
On my list.
And it would be better than Elden Ring and would be certainly on my list. I mean, like, it falls. Now, I'll say this, probably in the bottom half, 5 to 10 for me, but it absolutely is one of the 10 best games. And I can't even believe that this is a disagreement.
I mean, if it was sold separately, absolutely sold separately, did not require Elden Ring to run. You had to create a whole new character in order to run it in the first place, and the story had nothing to do with Elden Ring, then yeah.
What do you mean nothing to do with? Do sequels not exist to you people?
Okay,
I don't understand.
I'm sorry. The story can have everything to do with Elden Ring. I'm so sorry.
The only reason anyone gives a fucking shit about Dark Souls 3, a bad video game, is because it's Dark Souls.
I don't know.
That's its own video game.
Oh my god.
And it's a good one, so we just fundamentally disagree.
Also, I like Dark Souls 3.
Dark Souls 3 is probably even worse than Sekiro.
It's
honestly,
not my
if
favorite.
I'm being honest.
It's definitively worse than Sekiro, so we can agree there.
This is fucking crazy.
Not even close. I don't even know what the fuck this guy's on.
This is fucking crazy, dude.
So let me ask you this, Chandler. When we eventually sit down and break down...
He's definitionally defeated. He knows he's definitionally defeated. He's just like, oh, but it's good enough, so why don't we just bend the rules a little bit? It's like, okay, yeah, sure.
It's not even bending the rules because it's like, it's long enough to be a new game. It's got enough new content. It's an entirely new story.
Okay.
Only referencing the original story. None of the same characters even show up.
Okay, so can I just ask you one thing?
Radon.
That's
what
true.
do you mean? When?
The final boss we didn't beat.
Oh, fucking Radon. Right. Yeah, that's right.
So I just want to ask you one thing, though. So how do you feel about the fact that you do have to play a decent chunk of Elden Ring to even access the DLC?
I mean, you could make the same argument about any sequel ever. Like
you have to go boot up the old game to even access the sequel. That is not true.
I mean, to get the most out of Like a Dragon 9 million, then you need to play Like a Dragon 1 through 8 million.
You're the only sicko that thinks that. I played Like a Dragon and did not require the other ones to enjoy it. And you know what? I also didn't have to boot them up and get halfway through to access Like a Dragon.
I mean, to me, definitionally, that doesn't matter for what
Okay,
makes.
then you're actually like gone.
I'm serious.
It's literally as integrated into the video game as it possibly can be. It can't get more
You have to boot
integrated.
up a video game from years ago to even
otherwise, like literally any DLC that has ever existed ever should be considered its own video game to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they were
Which
good
is
enough, then
insane.
sure. Yeah,
Okay.
like The
All
Witcher
right.
3 Blood and Wine is probably better than The Witcher 3. So sure. Yeah. And I think it's good that we remove these stupid barriers about what makes something a video game. Like,
Okay. Well, then here's my final say on it. If that's true how you feel, then that is fine, and we will eliminate those barriers. I'll get rid of that mental block. No, I'm serious though. If that's how you want to play it, I'll get rid of that mental block I'm having, because that is just where my head's at. If we want to have a best expansion of the year category, that makes more sense to me. I'll be honest. We're giving a shout out to the best DLC of the year. It would clearly be Shadow of the Erdtree for me. I don't know what to tell you, but my brain right now has that mental block that's not a full video game. You have to play like 10 to 20 hours of Elden Ring to access it. I don't know what to tell you.
I just the way I view it is like, what are the 10 things that impacted me the most that came out
Create
this
a
year?
new category for expansions. If you were that impacted by a
I
DLC
don't
that came
know.
out, create a new category. Don't redefine what it is. It doesn't make any sense.
But like, if Shadow of the Erdtree is better than 5 other games that I really enjoyed, does it not deserve to be number 5?
Well, clearly
whatever.
it's not, because at the Game Awards it didn't win a single thing. Like, almost. Did it? Did it win anything?
I actually don't know, but it got nominated.
remember.
I mean, that's the thing. I
Sure.
mean, it got nominated,
And it lost.
but wait, but
Because
by
everyone was
default,
like, well, this isn't a video game. I'm not
wait,
going to
hold on. But by default, if it's nominated, doesn't that mean it has to be one of the best 5 games of the year?
If it loses every nomination, I don't know. I think it.
No, I'm
means
saying it was
fell
nominated
short
in
to
the-
everything it was again. I see what you're saying.
In the Game
but
of the Year category specifically, like if
Yeah,
you're
I
in
don't-
the nominations, that means you have to be one of the best.
I think it just means you're popular, and that's certainly true.
This is like crazy. This is crazy. I can't even believe that I'm having this argument with the Elden Ring guy. The guy who has played Elden Ring so
why won't
many
you listen
fucking
to me?
times. Because I think you're wrong. I think you're crazy. I think Shadow of the Erdtree is better than
I can't
Elden Ring.
wait for next year, and I'm like, dude, the
Old
free
game
We're gonna
of the
put
year.
up. We need to put up every DLC.
Is the best fucking game of this year. You're like, there's no fucking video game, Crossley.
No, I'm serious. I really think, have you ever played a DLC that you felt was better than the main game?
Probably Iceborne is a really good example for me.
I mean, there you go. I never even played Iceborne, so it didn't even fucking factor in for me. But like, if you really think that, then that is a valid argument, in my opinion.
And so to rewind again, I just have that mental block where I'm just not looking at it that way. If you want us to sever that for the show, I will, and I'll just start thinking about expansions in that light, that I should compare it to other releases that are coming out. I just don't currently do that. I view it as a separate thing in my fucking mind prison. It's categorized differently. Like, I don't know.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is I don't want to influence myself what has to be on the list. So that's not at all what's happening here. I just can't believe that one thing is separating this from being in a top 10 list. If that's true. If
it's just how my brain works. I categorize things by what they are. So like, if we're removing barriers, at some point I'm going to be like, well, fuck. Is a movie a video game because I have to fucking press play? Like, you know, like the more you fucking blur the lines, we're gonna be somewhere fucking retarded, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
It's a movie, a video game.
He's so right. He's so fucking
Thank you,
right,
Merced.
though.
I'm gonna suck your dick later, Merced. I love you so much right now.
Have no fucking idea. You have
Holy
allowed
shit,
yourself-
QED! You just got blown the fuck out.
No, I
dude.
didn't. All you did.
have to press a button to start the movie.
Oh.
He's so right.
All that's happening here is you guys have revealed just how incapable of thinking you are.
I told you I'm willing to do it.
It's not incapability of
just because I'm being
thinking.
transparent with how my brain works, and you fucking are like unable to handle it.
Video game, or is a movie a video game? Like, absolutely.
Okay, I'm being facetious, but you know the point I'm trying to portray here. Jesus Christ!
But it's like, to me, I mean, what I don't understand why there needs to be structure. But then you say shit like that, and I'm like, fuck, maybe I shouldn't open the floodgates, because next year you're going to be like,
exactly.
I bought an action figure this year and played around with it and thought it was really cool. So that's my number one game of the year.
Yeah,
like,
do you want me to pick Magic the Gathering Arena because they release new expansions every fucking month? Like,
I mean, you could try. I think it's a dumb argument.
I'm not. Yeah, the one you're making is dumb. I agree.
But like, did you put Magic the Gathering Arena in your list the year it came out?
No.
Why not? It's a fucking video game.
Yeah, no, because it wasn't the one I enjoyed the most is probably why.
Okay, but that's all I'm saying is...
And neither is Shadow of the Erdtree is also what I'm saying.
If you took a list of the 10 best things you played this year and you removed that barrier, would Shadow of the Erdtree be in the 10?
I genuinely don't think so.
Fair enough. Then we don't have anything more to argue about. But to me, that's nuts. Because our game of the year was Elden Ring the year it came out, I think. I now have to go look.
Yes.
The expansion,
probably right.
The expansion is better.
I don't know. I've realized here, and there is actually a recency bias in the wrong way of, I've realized here replaying it that I don't think I like it as much as I did. And I've realized how many problems it has. Like, now that the rose tinted fucking glasses are gone, it's just like, holy shit, this thing is riddled with issues. And I have such a huge disagreement with the fact that they do the Shadow Tree blessing bullshit. Like, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. But
other than the last boss, which I agree with you for the last boss purpose, I think that is like some poor design. I've never tried now that they tuned him down, but I should go back in and take a look and see how it plays now. But that's just fascinating to me.
Well,
I mean,
it's just like, okay, so it's like, at that point, why not make it its own product? If you're going to create some artificial difficulty that centers around an item you have to pick up and makes your character's progress and all this effort and time you put into a character pointless, because now you have to go pick up an item to be relevant to the damage scaling of the fucking DLC. It's just like, okay, why not make it its own product if my character is actually pointless? Yeah, I mean, all this stuff I did means nothing.
It's a fair argument for what you're saying. I mean, I think it's an argument also for in favor of considering it that mechanically it is different enough, right? But like, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Well, yeah, I mean, Shadow Tree fragments and the method of exploration and the reason you go and explore and the way caves and dungeons function in the DLC is substantially different from the base game. I think as a whole, the mechanical systems, they took everything that worked from from Elden Ring and made it more refined, a bit more focused. And in my opinion, it's a bit better, but I get totally with what you're saying. So like, fair enough. I mean, we don't even have to have the argument anymore if it wouldn't even crack the 10 for you. Same with Merced, right? I mean, it's like, if it wouldn't even crack the 10, then that's a different discussion, right?
But that's not the issue I have, is that it wasn't cracking my top 10. That's just also true. But the issue I have is that I don't consider it to be in the running at all, categoristically. If you really want me to change that, I will. No. I mean, moving forward next year, you're probably going to hate me.
I'm not being facetious when I say this, and I don't want to be mean. I feel like, no, you're good. I feel like to me, that manner of thinking is a bit narrow-minded. It's a bit weird. Okay. Like the fact that you have to specifically break things into categories and say, this is how I experience or relate information to one another. It doesn't make sense to me. That said, I understand. The only point I was making is that I thought legitimately that if we removed that one portion, it would be in the top 10. And to me, it makes sense, if that is true, to consider it and relate its quality against other games that came out this year. That's all.
Yeah, I don't think so. I guess it's hard to say because we're not in that reality where it's its own product. So I've just didn't view it that way. But there's never been a part of me, except maybe when I was like really hot on it when it came out.
Yeah.
There's never been a part of me that's been like, damn, I really want this to be in my Game of the Year discussion this year. Like, I had a lot of fun with it, but
yeah. I mean, I could have given it best world and would have been happy with that. You know what I mean? Like, for sure. There's a lot of things that
yeah.
So
there was some times where I had thought about asking you, am I allowed? Because I couldn't remember what we had said. Am I allowed to use it for best art or best visuals or something? I had thought about it, but
yeah, I kind of thought you would have
didn't consider it a video game.
Sure. So, and that's funny. Yeah, this has been hilarious. This is all going in. I mean, we're leaving this in. This is amazing. I mean, I think this is extremely entertaining. But so
agreed.
Enjoy that epilogue. But yeah,
shout out to John.
Yep, shout out. All right. Wow. Well, that was fun. Now next week is going to be even more interesting because I have to decide just how strongly I feel about it and if it's
can't wait to put Shadow of the Erdtree in my top 10 now.
I can't. Yeah, I'm like fascinated about what's going to happen in just 7 days when we and then next week suddenly Crossley's got like fucking, I don't know, did a Marvel movie even come out this year? He's got a Marvel movie in there because it relates to the property Marvel, which released a video game this year.
Yeah, there's a Deadpool and Wolverine skin in Marvel Rivals that has a scene of the movie as the MVP cutscene. So yeah, the lines are blurred. Remember? Yeah,
so you can include that then if you feel that strongly. Okay. This is going to be great. And the other thing I totally didn't expect is that I thought that you guys were going to boo me down when I included Deadlock in anything. And now that I realize that that's actually not true, suddenly I'm like eyeing Deadlock for the top 10 list.
Yeah, I don't even think that would be. I don't even think that would be a bad pick.
Yeah. It's such. I'm so impressed with that video game. I just don't have the fucking time to be good at it, like without sacrificing other video game time.
All I'm gonna say, no fucking shot Pal World even comes close.
For me, it actually probably will. I like that game a lot.
We'll see.
God damn it. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Peace.